We're back now at 7:17 on a Friday morning to talk Australian economics. You know, for most of the modern era, Australia was dubbed the lucky country because it was a country that succeeded on the strength of its primary exports. But the collapse of the commodities market has altered that lucky country idea, so much so that Australia's Treasurer Paul Keating last May warned that if Australia didn't get its economic house in order, it could become a banana republic. This country's top money man joins us this morning. Thank you for being with us, Mr. Keating.
Good, Brian.
Do you regret that banana republic warning, or did it serve its purpose?
Oh, it served its purpose. Its purpose was to say to Australians that the post-war boom in commodities was over, that the prices of most of the things that we were producing were down and likely to stay down, and that we had to basically recut our economic cloth. And we're now doing that in a very positive way.
Has the message gone home to most Australians?
I think so. I think Australians understand that the boom in commodities, wool and wheat and iron ore and coal, all these things in the post-war years were good things for us. We had a very high standard of living from it, but we've now got to get back into the business of manufacture, back into technology, and doing pretty much what you're doing in the United States. That is rebuilding our secondary industries, relying less on our primary export sector.
Are there any specifics where Australia's economic future lies? Any particular products?
I think it is, in the first instance, a successful campaign of import competition. We've been picking things from the shelves of the world for 30 years, always in the easy belief that we could pay for them. Well, now we're not paying for them so easily, so now we've got to make much more here. But I think we'll probably find our own technological niches, particularly in the Southeast Asian markets. We'll do specialist things, probably with conventional technologies, and do them well.
Given your union structure, can you compete with your Southeast Asian neighbors?
Oh yes, our wages are now not a problem. We've had larger real wage cuts in Australia in the last 4 years than any country we trade with. And we're now got more competitive wage rates than, say, Japan. We can produce things here now very competitive. We were last this competitive about 1968. We are now in a very competitive position.
How many of your problems, or to what extent are your problems, rooted in U.S. policies?
Well, the trade problem, the trade's been a problem with U.S. policies, but I think the biggest problem in the United States is still the United States federal deficit. The United States trying to rebuild its secondary structure simply on exchange rate changes, and it's really got to address that fundamental deficit. When I became Treasurer of the Commonwealth of Australia, we had a budget federal deficit of 5% of GDP, and so did America. America's still at 5%, and we're at 1.4%. We've basically broken the back of that structural problem. And I think until the United States does that, the problem of exchange rates and interest rates will be a problem for the world.
Another structural problem which you were able to get rid of was a union structure that indexed price rises to wage increases. Have you yet found a comparable structure to keep the unions happy?
Well, we had a thing called automatic indexation. Wages were increased, as you say, with the consumer price index, but that was locking us in a high level of Australian inflation. And we've broken away from that, and we'll now see inflation in this country track down. But the cause of the inflation was a very big depreciation of our dollar. But the depreciation, of course, brings with it this new competitiveness, better exports, better import competition. So it's a matter of living through a large depreciation and getting the inflation rate down, which we're now doing.
Do you ever see your government in Canberra selectively supporting certain exports?
I don't think so. The best thing we can give Australian manufacturers and exporters is a competitive labour market, a competitive exchange rate, the right interest rate structure. In other words, getting the fundamentals right. No tricky checks off the budget really help that much. What really helps is the fundamentals.
You're talking about getting the fundamentals right, and yet most forecasters in this country are predicting it'll get worse before it gets better.
No, I don't think that's. I think that was right last year, but we are picking up. We'll go to a faster rate of growth this coming year. A faster rate of growth this coming year. We'll see inflation abate further this coming year, and we'll see our current account external deficit improve further this year.
18 months ago, you asked the people of this country to trust your policies. Do you think their trust has been rewarded?
I think so. I think if they have to make a judgment in the final analysis between a government which is telling them the truth about their economic circumstance and trying to change it for the long run to the end of the century, or a party which is offering them sort of cheap throwaways off the budget that really can't be paid for out of national wealth, I think they'll take the quality and leave the rest behind.
That's internal politics. We'll stop it there. Paul Keating, thanks for being with us. Much appreciated. We're going to come back in just a moment. We have much more ahead from Sydney, Australia on this special edition of Today on NBC.